Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. What a beautiful Sunday evening it is, especially after you get done putting old biblical, Old Testament style butt whipping on your rival, Oklahoma. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rivalry, joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton himself. As you guys know, the Sunday show belongs to you. So you guys throw out your questions, comments. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. Super chats always jump to the front of the line so you can interrupt the show at any time. We are still kind of basking right in the glow of the win that the Longhorns had over the Sooners. So we'll talk a lot about that. We'll also look ahead a little bit to the Longhorns' next opponent. We'll get into that too. And of course, anything you guys want to address. And all of Sark's comments in the post game, all of those are fair game as well. All right, Jerry, let's dive right into it. Let's not waste any time. We'll get to the poll, the coaches poll. The Longhorns are 21st and 17th in those polls. We'll get to that. We'll also get to the kickoff time that's been announced for the next game. We'll get to the lines, the Vegas lines, and what they're saying about the Longhorns' next matchup. But let's talk about Texas, Oklahoma, and what we saw. I've watched the game now twice. I want to rewatch it again. It was a very enjoyable rewatch. I would tell you guys that. And the first thing that stood out to me, Jerry, was there's an old guy, maybe a coach is saying, it might be just the saying from motivational speakers, that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And that was the epitome of that Longhorn performance, because they started badly. It started like, here we go again. Yep. It looks like this is going to be, the Sooners are going to slap them around a little bit and they'll pull away. Offensively and defensively, because offensively, they at least had some things that were working for them offensively. But I will say that everybody, I mean, pretty much everybody I watched, and I'll go back and even watch more when I go my third rewatch, everybody got better throughout the game. Nick Brooks is probably the best example of it. Nick Brooks started out terribly, and then by the end of the game, he's mowing down, moving other Sooners out on that defensive line and making way for that Texas run game. I just thought that's what's the story to me, is that Texas, they got better throughout the game and wore down Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, offensively, defensively, special teams, everything got worse for them as the game went on.
Yeah, one of my big things was from this game, and of course, today we put out a video earlier, Rod. It was Sark owns Venables, 3-1 against Venables.
Yeah.
And to your point, what's interesting about Sark versus Venables, and Venables is a tremendous defensive coordinator, right? Everybody agrees with that. But one of the big things that's talked about is the third quarter woes for Texas offense coming out of the half. It's not against Oklahoma, though. That's the interesting thing. So in the 3 wins, Texas has over Sark has over Britt Venables. They've outscored Oklahoma 27-0 in the third quarter.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, 27-0 in the fourth quarter for 54-0.
Damn.
And even if you get to the 2023 game and you put the one Oklahoma won 34-30, Texas has outscored Oklahoma 67-14 in the second half in the Sark versus Venables 4 games.
Wow.
And by the way, another one that came out of this game, and now that you look back on it, Oklahoma's rushing is getting worse and worse and worse. Rushing the ball offensively. They had the 1 year they had the Dylan Gabriel. By the way, Texas has outgained Oklahoma under Britt Venables all 4 years. Even in the loss, they had 527 yards. Oklahoma's 485.
Yeah.
And then another statistical thing that came out of this game that we're going to get to y'all's questions is to get y'all's minds going too on this series. And I threw Mr. Rod out, and I think he was shocked. In the 3 losses Oklahoma has to Texas, they have 2 total sacks.
That's crazy.
So a guy that can dial up blitzes and is known for his pressure defense, they had 1 sack, and 0 sacks in those 3 losses for 2 total. And so it all falls in line. Line of scrimmage, right? Texas has run the football better than Oklahoma has. Texas has sacked the quarterback more than Oklahoma has, 15-6 in those 4 games, right? So it all kind of adds up. And then Texas really runs the football in the second half of these games and really controls the second half of these games. 54-0 in the 3 wins. Oklahoma hadn't peed a drop second half. in those 3 losses. And did they have quarterback injuries? Sure they did. But that scored a point, Rob.
Yeah. No, that's man, those are mind-blowing, eye-popping numbers. I mean, it really is to show you kind of the domination that Texas, that Sark has had over Venables. And somebody brought it up here in the chat. I want to make sure I give him credit because when I thought Hefty Taco says, and you brought this up too, Jerry, he had a lot of time to prepare for Texas.
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks now. I understand his quarterback, coming off of the injury, prematurely coming off the surgery. I get that. And John Mateer's he's a dog. He's a warrior. I respect him for it.
Yes.
But ultimately, reality set in as the game went on. You can tell he probably got hit on that thumb and on a hand a few times. And the accuracy, it started to wane more and more as the game went on. There was some throws he just couldn't make. And that's when Texas really started to suffocate him. They knew, he can't make those throws. And that's when those windows really started to shrink for him. And I'll give PK a lot of credit. I know some people didn't like his game plan late, but I think his game plan changed when he realized Mateer can't hurt me.
Couldn't throw it downfield accurate.
Yeah, that's when he got, I'm not even going to take, why would I gamble? Why would I take risks when this kid can't hurt me downfield? But early on in the game, guys, go watch. I want to say there were 12 drop backs where PK blitzed. According to Football Focus,
he blitzed more early for sure.
He blitzed early, exactly. They were early, and they were a lot of them on third down. I counted 6 times he blitzed on third down.
The first one, the Michael Taft, when Oklahoma didn't allow Texas to get the substitution, right?
Yeah,
on that third down, that was a Michael Taft safety blitz on that third down to start the game, the first third down.
Yeah. So he was, as I say, early on, I think he was being aggressive. As the game went on, I think he understood the assignment. Man, this kid's not going to hurt me. He can't even make certain throws. He's more of a threat as a runner, even though he was protecting his hand than he was as a passer at that point. There was no accuracy in his throws. All right. So we'll get to some other things. Let's get some of the questions first. You guys, we appreciate all the super chats. Let's dive into those first. How about Juan? Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. Says, Ed Jerry, how did you know James Franklin was going to get canned? You knowing people over there, who are the candidates now to replace James Franklin?
I didn't know he was going to get canned. I mean, look, to start the season or anything. I mean, but after UCLA, I mean, he had to be perfect after that.
But think about it, Jerry. He just made the play. That's how crazy things are. He made the playoff last season. Yeah. And now he's out.
Well, here's the crazy thing. We have a good discussion going on TexasFootball.com about James Franklin. And this is the crazy – I think we're about to enter a truly vicious cycle for coaches getting fired. And I'm not saying James Franklin didn't deserve to be fired. He's 0-3, lost to UCLA.
Yeah, he can't win a big game. He's proven he can't win a big game. Yeah.
I mean, look, he had some big bowl wins, right? And here's what my point was on the James Franklin firing. So is Matt Rule a top candidate? Very possibly. We'll see. If it's me, if whatever big job's open, I'm going to go offer Marcus Freeman $15 million a year and make him tell me no. And then I'll start my search after that because I think he is the guy you want for the next decade in college football at your school. If you have an opening, if you're at a Florida or Penn State, if you can get him, I'd make him tell me no, then I'd move on. But whoever the next hire is, Rod, you understand this, but do people realize how much pressure that next coach is going to be under at Penn State? Because it's going to be hyped up here's the next guy. He's going to get us over the top after a coach, whether he won the big game or not. James Franklin did a lot better than a lot of other coaches who in college football. Yeah. I mean, he won 104 games at Penn State. He won the Fiesta Bowl twice, the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, 2 college football playoff games. Did he have a horrible record against the games he needed to win? Yeah, but he did a lot better than most guys do. So now this next coaching hire, it's national championship or bust. If that guy goes 11-3 and makes 2 college football playoffs and misses the playoffs 2 other years, they're 60% fan base is going to say, get that guy out of here. Where's the next guy? We're about to get into a vicious cycle, I think, in coaching in college sports because of the portal, the salary these guys make, and NIL. Yeah, I think because everything's being magnified financially, and when everything's magnified financially, it then becomes pro sports, and pro sports fans are a lot different than college sports fans, and you want results quicker because these guys are making money and these coaches are making a lot of money, and we're entering a vicious. I think we're about to enter a vicious coaching cycle.
No, I agree. And I think it's I think you're starting to see it all around, Jerry. And you brought this up a couple of times that now that there's so much money openly, right,
Yes.
being paid to the players, also to the coaches. You're talking about this sports, you're talking about a $1 billion sports industrial complex you're talking about here.
Yes.
And fans now, they're a little less patient, period. They just they have no patience. And
Yeah.
they have no, what's the word I'm kind of looking for here? Compassion for the what used to be amateurs. They're not
Yes.
amateurs anymore.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
You know, they're not amateurs anymore. It's like, yeah, he's a young man, but he's being paid big bucks.
Yep.
So it changes everything. So I agree with you, Jerry, on that's a good point. All right. Thank you for that super chat. 56 million for his buyout. See, I should have told you.
Somebody asked, sent a DM.
Hey,
Somebody asked me, do you think James Franklin will coach again? I said, I have no clue, but I would not. I'd be going to Blue Mountain Beach and buy Destin and watercolor and buying me a house on the beach, and I'd be chilling.
Yeah, and I was like, quit feeling sorry. Everybody feels sorry for coaches.
Yeah.
I think people do it like, oh man, don't you guys are being hard on them. Look at this buyout. There is no such thing as being hard on these coaches. Like that is $56 billion. I think he will coach again though, because as you know, ego is a big part of it too, Jerry.
You don't want to go out like that.
You don't want to go. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to. If you know a lot.
You'll go out like that twice, but you don't want to go out like that once.
Yeah. You know that. You've been around coaches your whole life.
Yep.
Ego's a big part of it. So I think he will coach again. Where? That's a good question. And now but this is the good thing now. Now we have a blue blood to really set our juice to coaching carousel.
And that puts pressure on Florida.
Yes, everybody pretty much.
That might even put pressure on Florida State. Like what's going to be interesting, Hugh Freeze has been brought up. By the way, they're getting hosed more than any team I remember in a first half of a season. I don't know
what's going on there.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what's happening.
what I think is going to be interesting is, do some of these ADs and presidents kick the can down the road for 1 year? Because if Florida opens and Penn State's open, I mean, UCLA is not a great job, but it's open. I mean, but if Florida comes open along with Penn State, this is going to be a crazy coaching carousel. So I could see a couple of AD presidents that may be on the fence kicking the can down the road a year and seeing what this coaching carousel looks like next year, because there's not a lot of time. And if the coaching carousel gets as big as it looks like, there's not enough time to fill all these head coaching vacancies by the time the portal opens and things really get going here, because the guys Penn State, the guys Florida, if Florida opens, they may want maybe in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, especially Florida. I mean, Penn State, I know Penn State's got their own recruiting, but Florida is Florida and the state of Florida. The Power Four openings already, mid-October, basically. Are Penn State now. You got UCLA, Oklahoma State, Stanford,
Virginia Tech,
Arkansas,
Oregon State opened today,
Oregon State.
12.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're already. I mean, it's already heating up. So I'm with you, Jerry. I think maybe you get some more. Maybe they're just looking for a reason. Some of these, like the Billy Napier thing. A lot of people thought if Texas embarrasses them, they may get really Billy Napier after that game. Of course, that did not happen because Billy Napier is like it's like the Walking Dead around there. He's like Pet Cemetery. All right, let's get back to the super chats. How about this from Lane? Lane, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. My favorite takeaway from the All-22 is how our O-line hunted for work. If their gap was empty, they went and found somebody to knock around. Washington, too. Sark is right. The guys are becoming a team. Yeah, I agree with that, Lane. I think my comment prior to Oklahoma was that I'm watching a collection of talent. They don't play like a team just yet. And, who knows? Maybe that was the moment. Maybe Oklahoma was that moment, that turning point where now they play like a team. It certainly looked that way. That was a team win, all three phases. And you, like I said, you actually imposed your will on them, physicality wise, on the lines of scrimmage.
And you know what? You know what's great for the fans, and this is, that's what I needed to see Saturday after Florida. I needed to see it. It had to be proven to me. Now, what's going to be really good for this coaching staff? The answer to that question is this group becoming a team? You will know the next 2 weeks. because you have to be consistent, right? Now the step is, okay, that was really bad 2 weeks ago. They bounced back in a way, they won the right way that you're going to have to win in the game of football and in this conference. They lost the wrong way 2 weeks ago. So now they won the right way. Now it's, can they start to string this together? Not win out. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the next 2 weeks on the road. You know, Kentucky, Rod, is a game that teams traditionally have a hard time getting up for, that are the blue bloods, right? The Georgias of the world. There's been close. Georgia was 13-12 there last year. Ole Miss was 30-20. Ole Miss in the blue blood, but there was 30-23 there earlier this year. Kentucky's really struggled on the road. They've been a beat-up team, but they had a week off. If this team is really coming together, then I think you'll see a really good effort of play and performance against Kentucky. What you don't want to be is this.
Yeah,
right?
you don't want regression.
Linear. Yeah. I mean, so the next 2 weeks, because look, you have to bring it every week. And you may not play your A to A game to beat Kentucky, but you're going to need a solid B to B plus game, because they're rested. They don't have anything to lose. They played Ole Miss tough. Now they're beat up physically, but you want to see Texas keep building from there and not back to 9 or 10 penalties where it's not a focused team. So you want to start to see the build of consistency, because the last third of this schedule is getting tougher by the week.
It is. And it's one of the most more encouraging things to Lane's point here about that Texas-Oklahoma game. Like, now you can look at the Florida game and think of it as an outlier, right? Your line of scrimmage showed up for you on the road versus Ohio State on both sides of the ball, showed up for you, versus Oklahoma. And that was a really good defensive front on both sides of the ball. And so now I feel like, okay, well, Florida game, for whatever reason, it was a no-show. But what's encouraging now, if your lines of scrimmage continue to get better, right? You said build on it every week, is that your best players now are finally showing up. Colin Simmons, remember earlier in the season, you're like, where's Colin Simmons? What's going on? Well, I didn't even see him on the stat sheet. Colin Simmons is starting to show up for you. Ryan Wingo is starting to show up and do some things for you. Right now, Arch Manning now. Like, so in addition to now you developing some consistencies, and I put Trey Wisener in that category too. It's just consistent things for this team. I mean, he was unbelievable in that game. But now those A-list, those A-listers on your roster, the guys that are probably making the most money on your roster, they're also starting to make the most plays. That's important. That does matter. And I think that's why it's encouraging what's happening over Texas. I'm starting to see their best players step up and make a lot of those big plays for them. So, all right. Thank you, Lane. We appreciate that super chat. Jeff with a super chat. Here, thank you. Jeff says, how good is Oklahoma's offense and defense? I think the defense is good. The defense is good. Offense is just the John Mateer show. Yeah. And when John Mateer was hurt, obviously, it was a challenge for them offensively. No doubt.
I mean, look, it was a Texas played a lower possession game against Oklahoma, but I mean, Texas still only had 302 yards in that game. I mean, so Oklahoma is good on, and the thing about it, we talked about this with the Texas defense. The Oklahoma defense is good when they can't run the football, when their offense can't run the football. Mm-hmm. I mean, so there's that too. I mean, like there's a lot of pressure on the Oklahoma defense right now, and over the course of the season, it probably won't hold up with that much pressure on it. But especially when your offense can't turn around and run the football against anybody. I mean, so Michigan and Auburn both had around 290 yards at Oklahoma, right? So Texas is right in that area code. Oklahoma's a good defense. I mean, they're a legitimate good defense. The question is, with the rest of their schedule, at South Carolina, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Bama, Missouri, and LSU, if they can't effectively run the football, that defense is eventually going to give out some, because that's just the way this stuff works. I mean, if Oklahoma can't start possessing the ball and running the football somewhat, then they're going to get dotted a couple of times. I'm not talking lose 40-10. I'm not talking about that, but they're going to give up. They're going to have some games where at Alabama maybe, but there's some games where they could give up for 420, 430 yards as the season moves along if they can't establish some sort of a run game. And who knows where Mateer is actually going to be the rest of the season after he played Saturday.
It's a great point. I hope everything's good. Now that Texas played him and beat him, I hope everything's all good with him. Actually, as a player, I like him as a player. CJ Vogel loves him as a player. But no, the thing that I think Texas did a great job of, they spoiled Oklahoma's recipe or formula to win. They spoiled it. And what I mean by that is, and you actually hit the nail on the head, Jerry, when you were doing predictions and talking about what Texas has to do to win this game. It was third down. The Oklahoma defense got worn out. And they couldn't make as many havoc plays and splash plays as they always do, to force negative plays to get you behind the chains. Number one, because Texas wasn't being their own worst enemy by, having penalties and getting themselves behind the chains. But they stayed ahead of the chains by getting positive yardage on early downs. But they won on third down, Jerry. To your point, that Oklahoma defense hadn't been on the field for that many double-digit play drives.
Yeah.
Prior to the Texas game, 48% of the plays that Oklahoma had defended were either a negative play or stopped for 0 yards.
Yeah.
They were getting off the field. They're the best third down defense in the country. They're getting off the field. When Texas was able to keep them on the field, I think it was 3 double-digit play drives, you saw that front got worn out. And they were not as active, and they were not as impactful. And I think honestly, a lot of that was on Arch. I went back and looked. They had 17 third downs in that game. 17 of them. 15 of those 17 third downs, the ball was in Arch's hands as a passer or a rusher.
Yeah.
And he converted 9 of them.
Yeah.
60% conversion rate against the best third down. Anytime the ball was hit. Now overall, I think you were 10 of 17. So I'm just saying,
17.
But it was mostly when it was in his hands. It was Arch.
What I think the average third down in that game was 9.2, but that stat is not telling, because the first 3 or 4 were 3rd and 20 plus.
Right, 3rd and 23, a 3rd and 12, and a 3rd and 30 were your first 3 and a 3rd and 10. Those are your first 4 third downs.
So after that, it was more like 3rd and medium on average.
Yes.
And that's where you have to be. I mean, we talked about that's what Florida did against Texas 2 weeks ago. They got the 3rd and mediums and 3rd and shorts. If Texas can if they can live in 3rd and medium, 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 5.5. The rest of this season, maybe save one game. There may be a game where maybe Georgia gets after them a little bit. We'll see. But Georgia's not a great pass rushing team. I'll tell you that. Not on paper. And neither was Florida. But if Texas can live in the short mids, they're going to be all right. But they have to get there the offensive line has to take pressure off themselves. And that's the one thing they did, Rod, in this game is there were no offensive line penalty. By the way, congrats to Brandon Baker's first game without a penalty. And that's
growth.
Did Cam Williams have one?
It's growth.
I think he maybe had one game without a penalty last year. Maybe 12, but that's growth. So Brandon Baker, that's part of his growth, right? No offensive line penalties after the first 3 drives of the game.
Yeah, you're right. And
those were Nick Brooks just being nervous in his first college start. Imagine making your first college start in the Red River against Jaden Jackson.
Yeah, you're right. And he played like that early on. Those first 5 plays were disastrous for him. And then he settled into it and went to playing football by the second half. And he was one of the bright spots for Texas. And now they look like they have the offensive line. Right side was penalty free, says Nathan.
Yep.
That's big. They had how many penalties overall? Was it 4 or 5 total?
I think it was 5.
They had 3 of those came in the first quarter alone.
First 2 drives. Yeah,
Texas definitely played a lot cleaner. But
I think the only penalty in the second half was Jelani McDonald.
You're right. Young sportsmanlike. Yeah, it's a good point. But that's what I throw it out there. The third down, they should be really confident now in what they can do on third down. That was against the best third down defense in the country, neutral site. And like I said, Arch was amazing. He was when he threw the football on third down, 58% conversion rate. That was unbelievable. And like you said, the first 3 were there was no shot, but then he got that 3rd and 10 to DeAndre Moore, and it was the scramble drill, which might be Texas' secret weapon with Arch. I'm gonna throw that out there too. All right, let's get back to the questions here. DJ Alexander says, anybody from Penn State's class Texas could target? Thank you, DJ.
Most of the kids in their class were more guys that come down to Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, right? There's not really guys, and we'll see if somebody pops up, but there's not really guys on their commit list that Texas has gone after, Texas really recruited, or in areas Texas truly recruits a lot. Those are areas that Ohio State recruits a lot, Notre Dame recruits a lot, that sort of thing. The majority of their commitments are Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Michigan, Delaware, New Jersey. They dip into Tennessee a little bit, a big offensive tackle, but Pennsylvania in state, Minnesota, right? I mean, and they dip into North Carolina a little bit. So that's where the majority of their commitments are. And look, I think Texas is at a small number of position and guys they're looking at right now. We'll see if it expands. But look, I mean, Jalen Lott's at the top of the list at wide receiver for them. Obviously, see how many games Michigan loses, see what happens there. But Malachi Lee's at the top of the tack, and Texas doesn't back off these guys. And then I could see a third linebacker for sure. Braylon Hodge seems to be at the top of that list out of Colorado, who will come back and visit officially for Arkansas game. I think Texas is looking at some corners. I actually put a note up on a 2026 corner from the Houston area that Texas is checking in on now. So I think they're looking maybe at DB, one more DB possibly. D-line, I mean, Texas is still on Kendall Gerville. We'll see what happens with that Florida coaching situation. Wouldn't surprise me if he's not on campus in November. Texas also has to fight to hold a couple of those guys on the DL, but I'm not sure they're going to go outside of the guys they really, really love. It would have to be a big-time elite prospect.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. Thank you, DJ. We appreciate that super chat. Jeff is back. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Coming back with another super chat. Says, we have a very good defense, and Oklahoma's offense is not good. Yeah, Oklahoma's offense, they were struggling to run the football.
Can't run the ball.
Yeah, prior to playing Texas. And John Mateer, I believe when he got hurt, he was also their leading rusher as well. So it was basically their offense was really dependent on John Mateer. They didn't really I not like their wide receivers, but they don't really have a lot of game changers at wide receiver either, or at running back or the skill positions. And their offensive line has struggled. And
they have issues on their offensive line.
Yeah, prior to the Texas game, they had one guy that had started every game from on the O-line.
Yeah.
So you're right about that. Their offense isn't good, but Jerry's right too that the tip of the spear, which is their defense, it's not going to be able to keep up their dominance either if they don't get some complementary help, right, with the offense. So that's kind of what they go. But I will say this about Texas defense in that game, and Jerry, we've talked about this too. One of the things that I think is going to make the Texas defense good going down the stretch here, the SEC play, is the depth they have. And the depth is on display a little bit too, especially on the edges. Brad Spence is now playing.
He's a playmaker. He needs to play more. Some guys are just playmakers, right?
Yes.
Practice doesn't show what they can do. The games show what they can do.
And Jerry, guy you brought up just on your first watch, and I went back and watched him, and yes, he's a baller, of course. You talked about how Lance Jackson looks like he belongs now. You're damn right.
He's bringing some of that passion and energy that I think this team can feed off of in the future.
He's just one of those guys. He makes the most of every rep. Like you know when he's out there. Like you know, and he didn't play that much. Like he actually didn't play that much, but he made impact plays when he was out there. So it kind of maybe felt like he was out there more than he was. But between Lance Jackson, now you've got Brad Spence. Colin Simmons is now starting to assert himself and ascend. You still got Burke, you still got Vossick. I think those guys are going to have breakout performances too. Now you're at depth on the edges. Obviously, Trey Moore. That's starting to show up. Now these guys are starting to make some plays. Everybody's starting to maybe figure out their role on the defense. Maybe that's what's happening. But either way, I can't think of a team that has the depth Texas has at the edges, where you got guys like Brad Spence, who's a surprise. Why did it take so long for Brad Spence to play?
That's a mystery to me. I think look, Brad Spence was a guy that actually he had put it on the board in the SEC. I mean, you had 54 tackles and 4.5 sacks at Arkansas. I mean, he was a starter for them, a productive player. That one's been maybe the most surprising player on this team for me that hasn't been played a ton of snaps. Now, he was hurt when he got to Texas last spring, missed the majority of the spring. But I think the guy's just a playmaker. He was a playmaker against Kelvin Banks last year in Fayetteville. Yeah. How many guys were playmakers against Kelvin Banks? I think Brad Spence is a really, really, really good football player. I think he's a guy that the more he's on the field, the more plays you're going to see made behind the line of scrimmage and disruptive plays. And I think the Texas defense needs it.
He looked good too. He came from the second level, playing linebacker. Then they had him on the edge. They moved him around. I love the way they're using him. I love the way they're using Lance Jackson too. They put him in on the interior sometimes. Sometimes they got him on the edge. So according to Pro Football Focus, he only played 11 snaps yesterday. That sounds
that was productive 11.
because he got a sack, didn't he? He didn't get a
Yeah,
sack.
he got a sack and a tackle for loss on top of it. He had
Yeah.
2 PFLs.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you go look at him, you get the bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Like when he's out there in terms of the plays per rep. Like that dude is legit. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So look at that's Brad Spence. That was a hell of a game. Brad Spence had. Like I said, I don't think he played that much either. He's just very impactful when he was out there. And Lance Jackson ended up with a half a sack too. Yeah, and 2 QB hurries. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. So hell of a game. And speaking of, that was great that Matthew brought that up because Killer 1021, thank you for the super chat, says, I think Michael Taft's intensity on the first drive of the game really set the tone. Dude was everywhere the ball was. That's true. And PK blitzed him and put him at the nickel a couple of times to blitz him. Put him at the nickel a couple of times. So he was moving Taft around, and Taft was very active. I believe Taft thought he had a bad game too. I thought Taft had a underwhelming performance versus Florida. So I know Taft probably thought he had a bad game versus Florida. And I think he wanted to come back. Texas OU game, especially his last one too. Yeah. No doubt that dude was going to show up.
And by the way, Sark said this in the press conference, and I want to mention this again. He threw out his recruiting, DFW recruiting. And look, it's probably Anthony Hill's last Texas OU game. It's probably Manny Muhammad's last Texas OU game. Manny Muhammad went out in style. And was it 50-50 ball jump, leaving your feet interceptions? No, but he was in position to make plays, right? Grayson Littleton in position. You have to be in position to make the play. You have to be attached enough in coverage to make the play. So it was really – Colin Simmons with 2.5 sacks. It was a really good day. And it doesn't mean all the guys are going to go to Texas because it's NIL, it's recruiting, and, we've been over this a million times. But the DFW guys had really big games. And I do still think this game matters in recruiting in DFW because it's such a historical game in recruiting in DFW. And I know recruiting is so much transactional now, and it's changed so much. But I do think this game matters to kids in the DFW area. And I'll say the other thing from recruiting perspective is, Derek Cooper, Diabell, there's a lot of guys there. There's a lot of younger kids at the game. What they saw yesterday was they saw a true freshman start at left guard. They saw Lance Jackson play a lot. James Simon got on the field. I mean, you can keep going down the list. Grayson Littleton's pretty much a starter on this team at this point, right? You're seeing true freshmen get on the field, and a couple of those guys played major roles in this game. So that was a really good recruiting day. As good as recruiting days can be for a team in a transactional world, that was a good one for Texas yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's thank our sponsor before we move on, and we'll get to more of your super chats and questions. Let's thank our friends over at Rogue Shop. Our friends at Rogue Shop, we appreciate all of their support of Bowen, Texas football, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. We want to thank our friends over at Rogue Shop, and you can use that discount code right there on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at Rogue Shop. They ship nationwide, no matter where you are in this great country of ours. They can get their fantastic products to you. They have it all from oils and creams to flour and gummies, no matter what you're dealing with, maybe a sleep deprivation, anxiety, maybe just aches and pains from battling father time or from your playing days. Well, you can reach out to our friends over at rogueshop.com. They have so many different items, a variety of different items that can help you battle those ailments successfully. So reach out to them today. And remember to use that discount code on Texas, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. That's rogueshop.com. All right, let's get back to the super chats. Robert says, I sure wish Arch would have taken some downfield shots when he got the free play opportunities. He actually checked it down, and the check down ended up being big plays. Yards after the catch. Robert, thank you for bringing that up because I think this goes to a larger macro conversation. And I want to give Sark some credit. Remember last week, Sark was asked about Arch average time to throw being 3.2 seconds, one of the longest average times to throw for any starting quarterback in the country. And maybe is that one of the reasons, that the pressure rates are relatively high. Defenses have a long time to get to him. And, Sark, I think he gave an answer about the offenses are different because he has different strengths than Quinn did. And all those things are true. In this game, even though I think Pro Football Focus had you with 3 passes of 20+ yards. Most of those were, I mean, scramble drill throws or Arch just working the kind of backside of the intermediate area. They didn't really throw any actual deep shots downfield. I'm talking about like actual deep vertical shots downfield. They didn't have any of those. And shout out to my man CJ, because he had a great tweet earlier today. He says versus Florida, Arch had the highest average distance of target in the country at 20.2 out of 106 qualifying quarterbacks versus Oklahoma. His average depth of target was 4.2 yards, which was the fourth shortest average of 117 qualifying quarterbacks. I went and looked at, remember the first, like, I want to say the first 3 drives of the game, you had like 6 screens. You remember how many screens they threw? They were throwing a ton. Thank you, Matthew, for bringing it up. They threw a ton of screens. So Sark did modify the game plan to get his quarterback in a groove, in a rhythm, and to try to keep him out of harm's way as well. And I'll give Sark a ton of credit for that. Although it didn't necessarily work early on, it was clear that Sark was thinking, I don't need Arch holding on to the ball for 3.2 seconds against Oklahoma.
He can against them, or he could. Until a run game was established, you couldn't do it.
And that's when, a great point. So maybe later you could have took some shots, but you didn't need to.
They were going to play
the game.
They were going to play the 2. They were going to play the 2 high. So I mean, like, it's like split safeties. That's what they were going to do, right? I mean, but yeah, I know, absolutely. I'll say this on one of those free plays though, and Rod, I don't know if you picked it up, but I remember during the watch with us, I saw the replay of it it may have been. I guess it had to have been the 4th quarter, maybe. I don't remember now. It's probably 2nd quarter. One of those offsides, Arch literally, the ball was about to be snapped. He literally looked to the right. He never saw the guy come off sides to the left of him, but just the way the sequence of the play was going.
Yeah.
And so one of those, I know it's easy to say, hey, just take the shot, but sometimes you'd actually see the guy step over and encroach. You don't see him encroach all the time because the process of the play is actually starting. And Arch looked right. I think he was hunting the safety to the right. So he never saw, on one of those, he never saw the guy encroach.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right about that. And I mean, I just thought Arch made great decisions with the football.
He played well with the ball. Yeah,
he kept you out of harm's way. Not a lot of turnover-worthy plays. I don't know if he had any turnover-worthy plays actually at all. All right, Landon with a super chat here says, Landon, thank you for the super chat. He says, I just want to point out, this is a quote from Gabe Eichert. I just want to point out that this is the best team Venables has had and probably the worst team Sark has had. Not the worst. 2021 was the worst. 2021 was the worst team he's had, even though he got up on Oklahoma like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's probably talking in the 4 games they've played against each other.
Okay, I got that. Yeah,
I mean, there's something to that now. Again, I mean, I don't know. Get Michael Hawkins. They must think Michael Hawkins is terrible.
No, they need to learn their lesson and invest in a backup quarterback. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, at this point, and to be a blue blood program, you have to assume at one point, knock on wood, your quarterback's gonna miss a couple of games. Sark ain't had a year, knock on wood, where his quarterback has made it through every game unscathed. Yeah. It's just a reality of it. And for you not to invest in backup quarterback as a blue blood program, that's just irresponsible, especially after learning the lesson that you had to learn with Michael Hawkins starting the Red River Rivalry 2 years ago. Like, that's y'all. That's
I mean, I still look at hindsight's 2020 and all this stuff. We just talk about it. We have weeks to talk about games leading up to these games, and we had 3 weeks with Mateer, but I just don't know if I'd have played him in this game, man. I mean, I know for Texas fans, you're glad he did, right? And for the people in the chat, yes, good. I wanted to beat him at full stream, but that guy really wasn't healthy. His thumb opened up. He's bleeding in the game, right? He couldn't. So I'm surprised. I think it tells you where Venables' head's at in trying to – he knows his job is on the line with the second half of the schedule. I'm interested to see what Mateer's really going to – where his health's going to be the rest of the season after that. I mean, he's not going to be – like, he probably needed more time, honestly. He probably would have benefited John Mateer to not play in that game Saturday. But they played him. I'm interested to see, because if they don't run the ball – if they can't run the football with the running backs and John Mateer doesn't get healthy the rest of the year, or it takes him longer It's not till week 11 maybe that he starts to be all the way back. Good luck. I still think that was risky to play that guy. It was that, and I know how Brent Venables' job's on the line, but that one may come back to haunt.
Good. Yeah, I think he knows his job is on the line, and he sees the rest of that schedule. He's like, I gotta have a Texas win on my resume. If I don't, in addition to the next 3 losses I may get, I'm done anyway. I might as well go all in. But I'm with you. Should have been thinking about. Like I said, John Mateer he's got that dog in him, so he probably insisted on playing. We don't know how that went, but I'm with you. I hope he ends up healthy, because I hope he doesn't have negative ramifications from that game. All right, Todd with a super chat. Thank you, Todd. We really appreciate your kindness. He says, what does Texas need to do to take the next step? Mine are settling in at O-line, don't overload Arch, and Sark to pump the ball and play field position. Yeah, you know what, Todd? This is a good question, because I think they just need to, because I think they found kind of a formula to win. Right, the formula to win, because now Arch is playing winning football. Now, is he playing Heisman Trophy winning football? Nope. Is he playing number 1 overall pick type of football? Nope, not there. I'm just saying he's playing football well enough for you to win games, especially in critical moments like red zone and third down. And I just think at this point, if you can continue to build on what you built in the trenches, and honestly, Trey Wise was a big part of it, guys. He's the one that keeps you out of third and long. Yeah. Because he gives you positive yardage on early downs. He's the guy. It's really hard for Texas to stay out of those third and longs unless Trey Wise was the key to it. Go watch that second half. He was a big part of it, man. And I think the O-lineman, the way they block and his maturity in terms of his vision and patience, it really goes well together. Like he almost helps a young O-line the way he runs the football, because he's mature enough to know, in this play, this angle, or you know what, I need to press the hole here. I do this. And out the young running backs, they'll get there, but they're not there yet. He's there. So I think Trey Wise is a big part of it. So I think they got a formula to win. That's a big part. And they're better in critical moments, third down and red zone, to me, Todd.
Yeah. And by the way, Trey Wisner took a pretty good beating in that game. I think it would be important to get Baxter back in the fold on the road the next 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
Let's see what happens. But I think it would be big for this team to do that.
It'd be huge for this team to get that. Yeah. I think they're a different offense altogether when they get Baxter in there. All right. Greg with a super chat. Thank you, Greg. We appreciate it. No guarantee that OU scores a touchdown even next year. Colin coming back, Justice Terry, Lance Jackson, Jonah Williams. It's going to be tough. No, Texas is going to be loaded next year. I mean, they're going to be loaded. There's a lot of young guys they're playing right now.
See who's coaching Oklahoma. We have an off season to talk about that. Brent's got to get the 8-4. I think to have a shot at it.
Who's going to be the AD?
That's the other part.
Like don't the AD hire the coach usually?
I'm not sure if I'm Oklahoma, this is the year to have an opening, but I think they may be forced to.
Well, maybe their GM, though.
Yeah.
Nagy is going to hire, right? He's still this. Maybe he does the firing and the hiring.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, all right, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. All right. Kegs here with us. And thank you, Greg. We appreciate that. Good point, though, about how this they playing a lot of young guys. Keg says, do you think the third down throw from Arch to Livingston is on the right sideline was one of the plays of the game? It was, Kegs. And thank you for the super chat. And great point. Yeah. I think E. Hogan said on the in-game live watch, because we were doing it together. All three of us doing it together. He said, that's the best story he's made all year. And I believe Jerry said, I concur. Best story he's made all year. Yeah. And if you go watch it, the beauty of it was him avoiding that rusher initially. Avoiding the pass rusher, and then just throwing it on an absolute line. I mean, that was a dime. And Livingston actually ended up being double covered in it because it was a safety right over the top of him and a DB underneath. Go look at the way the DB covered it. Yeah. The DB had outside leverage the whole time, and Livingston had to give him like an inside fake and try to get some outside leverage. And he did a great job of it, but it was not a big window. No. It was a small window between that sideline and Livingston. So, Kex, you're right. But I was watching Arch. There were moments like that when you went, oh, I think he's starting to get it. Like the lights going off for him. He's starting to figure it out. And that's a scary proposition there, man. It will be 1,099 days of OU not scoring a touchdown on Texas when they kick off next year. Great. I
They'll
don't do
hire
it
an
right now.
offensive coach. They will hire an offensive coach because they have scored, again, 136 to 43 in the last 4, and they had 34 of those in 2023. And we see this in college sports all the time. If there's the firing of Brent Venables, you're going to hire the exact opposite coach.
Yeah.
So they will hire an offensive coach. That's what's going to happen. If they will not go with another defensive guy after a defensive guy struggled to get the offense and the run game going. So it'll be an offensive coach they hire. So their chances of scoring a touchdown go up if they make a coaching change next year. That we know.
All right. Taylor here with a super chat says, saw an insider say, was at Wells at Auburn that they are offering him and his brother to play in Texas. Is it? Could that pull him away if true?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's Auburn's play. There, Corey Wells, the defensive line, 4-star committed to Texas out of Petal. That he was at Texas for the Sam Houston State game with his mom, with his brother, who is a linebacker commit to South Alabama. Auburn would take his brother, full scholarship, his brother. I think that's where the Auburn's at. And that tells you Corey Wells is a really good prospect, by the way. I don't think it's an add water instant guy. It's going to take him a year to get acclimated and really build up that frame and really build up his technique. But that kid's got a chance. Corey Wells does. His brother's 6'3", 215 linebacker. But they had a great visit to Texas. Texas is fighting. They don't want to lose Corey Wells. Now, would they offer his brother a full ride to get Corey Wells? As of last week, no, they would not, but they could get to an Isaiah Coleman type of situation.
All right. Thank you, Taylor, for that question. We appreciate it. Juan with another super chat. Thank you, Juan. Says, James Franklin to Arkansas? That's not a good fit. Not a good fit.
Look, the problem James Franklin has,
Not a good fit.
He's not going to get a job as good as the one he just got fired from.
No way.
That's why it's dangerous. James might just do better just going to be on TV for a while.
That's fair.
Just go talk about it. He's got a great personality.
Yeah, that's CJ Vogel suggested that weeks ago, and I still agree. That's a good fit for Arkansas. Mike Gundy, not a bad fit.
I mean, if I'm James Franklin, it's tough because you're not going to get a better job than what you just had. And it would be hard if I'm James Franklin, even if Arkansas called to say, oh, yeah, I'll take that when the AD's saying we don't have the support we need in football to compete in the SEC. Then you're going to get into that if you're James Franklin?
No.
Nah, just go take your money for a little while, get on TV and tell people about the game like everybody else does. And if something pops, it pops.
Yep, you got to wait for the right job if you're James Franklin. Yeah. You can't just take any job. And
now, if Bill Belichick walks out of North Carolina, there's a situation like Mac went to after Texas. I mean, somewhere that you have enough. Maybe you're in the ACC. I'm not sure you want to walk into the Arkansas and the SEC if you're James Franklin.
That's not bad though. The North Carolina job for James Franklin. That's not bad.
He recruits Virginia well. The Virginia Tech could do they could do a hell of a lot worse than getting James Franklin and his recruiting ability at Va Tech.
Yeah, I like that, Jerry. All right, Mayo Corn Dog, speaking to Jerry, the team showed character, but it's easy to get up for OU. Now need to show consistency.
That's it.
Onward and upwards. Also, Sark is right about recruiting DFW. Same thing you said, Jerry.
Yep. I mean, look, the next 2 weeks, I think every week is big, but I think the next 2 weeks you want to see that consistent growth of a team because when you get to November 1st, I mean, these are tough games. I mean, it's Vanderbilt, not like Mississippi State's. I think Mississippi State's an incredibly tough game because they believe they can win now. But you still have Vanderbilt. Then you have the off week, but then you go to Georgia, and then you have Arkansas. Now, Arkansas is better under Petrino. They're scoring points. They're putting up a fight. And then you have A&M at the end, and we got a long time before you need to start talking about that one.
Yeah. No, the Arkansas thing is it's a good test because Taylor Green, like I said, he might be one of the best players in the country on a bad team. Yeah, he's fun to watch. Van Lightfoot here. Thank you, Van. We appreciate the super chat. Says there have only been when two punts returned for touchdowns by a Texas player in the Red River Rivalry, one by Ryan Miller, the other in 2013 by Marquise Goodwin. Ooh, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Look, you were happy. I was really happy for the team, but there was two guys in particular Saturday I was really happy for. And Arch was one because of all the crap he takes. He's going to take more crap than any college athlete I've ever seen. And it's going to continue. His next bad game, it's going to happen again. It's not going away. But then Ryan Niblett, because and I'm a broken record on this. This will be the third time I've said it since the punt return. Fourth, in today's day and age, a high percentage of the guys in Ryan Niblett's situation would have transferred last spring. You know, he's waited his turn. He played some at receiver. He played some at running back. He played some at DB. Texas hadn't found them a home, but he stuck it out. Now, a large percent, and you know he's been recruited to portal, Rod. We don't have to ask him to know. Some G5 said, "Hey, man, we got a small bag. Just come over here. We'll get you 50 for 600 yards. We'll let you return punts," because he would be tremendous for a G5 team. But he stuck it out. And you like to see guys that kind of buck the system, the portal system, stick around and find a way to get on the field and have success. Now, he still needs to field the punts more, by the way. On the road, these are big deals. He's got to field the football better. But it was great to see him have his moment because he stuck around to have a moment. A lot of guys don't stick around and give themselves a chance to have the moment.
Yeah, no, it is. He's a good story. And Sark likes him. Sark has that little Niblet package that he's using a couple of times a game. So he's trying to give him the football more.
Yeah.
All right. Scott here with a super chat says, "Is Vasek healthy?"
That block in the back looked healthy.
Speaking of that punt return. And he's playing. I mean, he's playing a lot. He's in the rotation with the edges. Speaking of how deep they are. So, I mean, he's there. I just think like I said, Colin Simmons has just started to ascend and kind of waiting on the rest of the guys start making plays too. That room is deep. And I think and now they're learning their roles on the team. I think you're going to start seeing those guys make more plays. And we're already seeing it in that game too. Lance Jackson had a hell of a game on the edge too. Aloha Traveler, appreciate Aloha Traveler. He says, "Aloha fellas, great win. Realistically, is there a legitimate path for a 9-3 Texas team to make the playoffs in your opinion?" Hell yeah, because they want Arch in. So it depends on they want Arch in and they want Texas. So depends on who you lose to, then your next loss, whoever that is. If you lose to, and it depends on how the loss looks. It can be an ugly loss. Who you lose to and how the loss looks, because they want it's as long as Texas is a sexy 9-3, and that means Arch is playing well. They want Texas in. They want them in.
The whole key for me is, does the ACC get 2 in this year? And does the Big 12 get 2 in this year?
Texas Tech.
Because this is a big one for all the at-large teams this week. USC's at Notre Dame, and I do think Notre Dame will win the game. But if Notre Dame wins at home against USC, I think they're going 10-2 and they're going to get in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because they lost their first 2 and they're going to win 10 in a row. I think USC is realistically, unless Notre Dame just lays an egg, and I think CJ Carr's getting better and better. I don't think he'll lay an egg. But if USC can't knock Notre Dame off in South Bend, Notre Dame looks like they'll go 10-2. And if they go 10-2, they will get in. That could knock a 9-3 out. So I know you hate Lincoln Riley, but you might want to cheer for USC this weekend. Because I don't see Notre Dame losing if they win this weekend. So they will get in at 10-2. You have the G5. Then it comes down to Big 12 and ACC. Georgia Tech's undefeated. They don't play Miami in the regular season. They got a decent schedule. Obviously, Miami's right there playing really good football. But if the ACC got 2 in, then the Big 12 could only get 1. I think that's the only chance a 9-3 has to get in from the SEC or Big 10.
Good stuff, Jared. All right, let's get back to it. Jonah Williams Enthusiast says, "I seen a lot of offensive freshmen in that game, in that pregame scuffle. A lot of our freshmen, hey, that's good. They got that dog in them. Coach recruiting the right kind of guys. Especially if you're not going to play, get up in the scuffle. You ain't going to play, get up in the scuffle. But I'm glad the guys came ready to play. That's what we were worried about in the Florida game, and the guys just weren't ready to play. The intensity, the passion, they clearly had that. And by the way, that's easy, as the texter said earlier, that's easy to get for OU. Let's see you bring it out for Kentucky. To your point, Jerry. Thank you, Jonah Williams enthusiast. Rocky P up next. Rocky, thank you for the super chat. Says a moment that was a turning point is towards the end of the first half. Campbell gets hurt and guts it out. That O-line seeing their senior leader one leg fighting. O-line played inspired the rest of the game and pushed OU back. They did. They reset last year. I saw that too, Rocky. I saw him limping out there and basically kind of refusing anybody to come out there and get him. Now he's like, "Nah, man, my last Texas OU game.
Yeah,
I'm playing this one to the end." I think they just showed a lot of grit, fortitude. That entire group. It was a lot. They had injuries. Remember, at one point, was it Gooseby went out at one point? I mean, they had injuries on that line, but it seems like everybody overcame adversity on that offensive line, considering their opponent. So proud of those guys, man. I really am. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Rocky P. Appreciate that. Spank B says, with Baxter out, who is the second string running back?
Look, I think as time somebody asked about Baxter's status. We see if the week of practice goes well, we think there could be some positive there. But you got to get through the week of practice with a hamstring, right? I think James Simon's slowly taking that over as the runner, and I think he should. Honestly, as the runner, I think if you're going to hand the ball off to a running back, I think he's your number 2 guy right now. Is he number 2 in pass pro? I don't know, but I think as a runner, he's your clear number 2.
I like that. All right, thank you, Spank B. I appreciate the question. Justin here. Yeah, seems like it's between him and Clark. All right, obviously. Seems like I don't know what's going on with Jarrett Gibson.
Well, Jarrett Gibson got 1 carry Saturday, and he tried to bounce it outside.
Yeah,
just putting his head down and going to get 2 yards, and that was a game where it was all about taking what they gave you and go get power forward and get 2 yards, because 2 yards is a great run on first down against Oklahoma because it puts you ahead of the chains. If you can get 3 or 4, you're in a really good spot, right? So I think the one time he tried to bounce it and lost 3, and that was the only time he touched the football.
Yeah. All right. Yes, it's about that attention to detail. As a running back, I thought the running backs had a good day too. Just especially Trey Wisener had a hell of a day. All right, Justin here with a super chat. Thank you, Justin. Says, when do we expect Baxter back? I'm with y'all. This offense is better with him. His leadership on the field was missed versus Florida. Jerry just said it. I mean,
with the hamstring, you got to get through the week of practice. And I think if he can get through the week of practice, I think there could be some good things happen. But you can't have the setback this week.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just saddle up Trey Wisener and treat him like a workhorse back. He can handle it. We've seen him now multiple times be that guy. Probably not. It shouldn't be the ideal plan for the rest of the season.
Not with 6 games to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think it was the A&M game last year where you kind of saddled him up and was able to use him as kind of your workhorse back, but you definitely need some other guys to help carry the load at the running back position. All right, thank you guys for all the super chats. Thank our sponsor over at Rogue Shop one more time before we end tonight's live stream. We appreciate our friends at Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. You can use that discount code that you see right there on your screen on Texas, and you'll end up getting a very special discount from our friends over at Rogue Shop. They have it all, from oils and creams to flour and gummies. They also ship nationwide. So no matter where you are in the On Texas football family in this great country of ours, our friends over at Rogue Shop can ship their fine products to you no matter where you are and no matter what you're dealing with. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's aches and pains from battling Father Time or from your playing days. Maybe it's sleep deprivation, whatever is ailing you. Our friends at Rogue Shop have so many different items, variety of different items that can help you battle those ailments successfully. So reach out to them today at rogueshop.com. Use that discount code. You see it on your screen there on Texas. Thank you very much to our friends at Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. All right. You know what? Before we end things, I'm going to answer a couple more questions here. I see a couple of more here. How about this one from Freshwater Cajun? Has Texas already faced the hardest defenses they'll see all season? Georgia is still there.
It's at Georgia. They're going to be super duper hyped for that game. Yeah. Kirby's going to make them feel like Texas's 77-game winning streak. Is Georgia a great defense this year? No. But they will be super duper hyped, and that'll be a tough environment to play in. So the defense gets the home crowd behind them in that game. A&M's pretty good on defense now. A&M's not bad.
Mm.
A&M's playing pretty good. A&M's playing good football.
A&M overall.
It's time to like be real. They're playing their improved team from last year because
they're playing like they want to be a playoff team. Let's just be honest. Yeah.
And they have the big 3-game stretch coming up. If the reality for I know everybody's like, oh, A&M's going to do their normal November thing. They win at Arkansas this week, then all they have to do is split at LSU and Missouri. All they have to do is split one of those games, and they will very likely be 10-1 coming to Austin. Because they have South Carolina at home, and they have Samford at home. If they win at Arkansas this week, which will be probably a little bit of a score fest, and then they split with LSU and Missouri, they're going to be 10-1 when they head to Austin, in my opinion. They're better. Ooh. They're better because they got more. They're better on offense this year.
That is sexy. That's sexy. And honestly, we talked about this last point we'll make before we end the live stream. In the offseason, the possibility that if the Aggies actually, and Elko did turn it around, say the Aggies did become nationally relevant and competitive, a perennial playoff team, that could the Texas A&M rivalry overtake the Texas OU rivalry now, because OU looks like they're trending down, the Aggies are trending up. And honestly, it ain't happened yet officially, but I will say that it's more realistic than it was when we started having that conversation in the offseason.
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 scenarios right now. There's 2 scenarios right now. I mean, so let's say Texas drops one more game along the way. But let's say they can get to 8-3, and it's not a given. But we got to see consistency out of this team. Let's say they're 8-3 and A&M's 9-2. Let's say A&M drops 2 when they come to Austin. Then that game very well Texas could have a shot at getting a 9-3, depending on if there's only one Big 12 team or if Notre Dame gets knocked off against USC. But that game again could be for a playoff spot. I see a scenario, unless Texas stubs their toe twice, where that game is very likely going to be for a spot in the playoffs potentially. That's the way you want the rivalry to be. You know, I mean, that's where I've said this before, and to that point where I think Texas versus Texas A&M can overtake Texas and Oklahoma from a football meaningful standpoint, because you want the Texas A&M rivalry to turn and be like Auburn and Alabama, because even when Nick was there, Auburn actually got some things done, and it made the rivalry great.
Yeah,
that made the rivalry great. If it's just one team, the other team's never really playing for anything, I don't think it can be a great rivalry nationally. But where both these teams are set up from an NIL perspective, and the areas they're getting the same players from, or a lot of similar talent from, they're all recruiting the same states for these guys.
Yeah.
This game has a chance to have a lot of meaning moving forward. And it really hasn't before from a national standpoint.
No, that's how it died out. It became like a local, almost just a regional rivalry. It has a chance to become a national rivalry again, because A&M's keeping up their end of the bargain. Texas needs to keep up their end. Allen says it's Texas 8-4 until it isn't. I agree. Hey, right now, just go beat Kentucky.
Look, I want to leave everybody with this. Yeah. Kentucky is a tough team at home. You can look at every single year. This year, Ole Miss was 30-23, no matter what you think about Ole Miss. Last year, it was Georgia 13-12, Vanderbilt 2013. You can go on their schedule, and they haven't had as much talent this year and last year as they have in the past. They've beat good teams at home, upset good teams at home. They've played people really tight at home. I mean, and they had a week off to get a little healthier, because they were the most beat-up team in the SEC 2 weeks ago on the injury report. Maybe they're a little healthier. They're going to play. Kentucky's going to try to knock Texas out. Everybody's going to get up for Arch Manning, guys.
Yeah.
It's a night game in Lexington 2 weeks before basketball, so they still care about football for 2 more weeks. Then after that, they don't give a crap.
All right, last question here before we get out of here. Juan Super Chat says, who had the bigger win, Texas Tech or Texas A&M? I mean, I think every win right now is kind of big for Tech because of the way they're doing it.
Yeah. I think Texas had the biggest win because if they lost, the season was essentially going to go down it was going to be tough.
Yeah, that's true. Texas always winning that game is always big.
If you're staring at 3-3, I think there's 110 people in this chat right now, and not over 1,000.
That I agree with. Yeah, no question about it. Thank you, Juan. We appreciate the super chat. Thank all you guys for the super chats and all the questions. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. He's the real MVP. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate all your expertise and hard work. Thank you to Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. We appreciate our sponsor. Use that code ON Texas. If we miss any of your questions, please direct them to Jerry and Bobby bright and early tomorrow morning at Coffee and Football at 8:15. And we'll have your prime time edition of the Winning Drive at 7:15 with myself, CJ Vogel, and Coach Bob Shipley. That'll be tomorrow as well. Thank you guys for all of your participation, and for Jerry and for Matthew. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.